Hey everyone, today we're in Norman, Oklahoma at the Independent Order of the Oddfellows Cemetery. And this is a pretty good sized cemetery. It's really well maintained and it is a nice cemetery. But we're here to do a story on one man who I feel is important, at least here in Oklahoma. I was pretty attached to him, listening to him every single day on the radio. Jack Mildren was born in Kingsville, Texas, and he was raised in Abilene, Texas, where he played quarterback in high school and set records. He graduated in 1968 and then went to the University of Oklahoma, where he continued playing the quarterback position. Mildren is best known as the godfather of the wishbone offense, which was introduced by Coach Chuck Fairbanks in 1970. During his 1971 senior season, the wishbone offense was averaging 472 yards per game. Mildren set several records which have since been broken. Most rushing yards in a season, 1,140, most touchdown passes, 25, and season passing efficiency of 209 yards. That year, OU won its first 9 games and fell short of a national championship by losing 35-31 at home in Norman on Thanksgiving to an eventual champ Nebraska. The game has since been referred to as the game of the century. He led his high-powered wishbone offense team to a victory against Auburn in the 1972 Sugar Bowl, earning him MVP honors. He was drafted into the NFL by the Baltimore Colts in the second round as the 46th overall pick. He played for 3 seasons in the NFL as a defensive back or safety. He also played for the New England Patriots. Mildren became active in politics and served as a lieutenant governor from 1990 to 1994. In 1994, he ran for the governor of Oklahoma as a Democratic nominee, but was defeated by Republican Frank Keating. Mildren was also an oil company owner and served as vice chairman of the Arvest Bank Group. He was an announcer on Jock's 930 WKY, Oklahoma's oldest radio station. He was also a regular contributor on WWLS, The Sports Animal, having a regular segment on the Total Dominance Hour. Jack Mildren died of stomach cancer at the age of 58 on May 22, 2008. He was survived by his loving wife Janice and their 3 kids. The family lineage now includes grandsons and granddaughters. So this is another interesting one here in the cemetery. This is marking the spot of a mass grave here within the cemetery. This was recently placed here in 2015, I believe, and it says to honor and memorialize these men tragically lost to a fire on April 13, 1918. May their lives and the meaning of their lives not be forgotten. On the back side, there's a listing of names here, and you can see that there are quite a few names. This is one big mass grave, and we're going to tell the history of them right here. This story takes place at Griffin Memorial Hospital in Norman, Oklahoma. At one time, it was known as the State Hospital for the Insane. At approximately 3:45 on April 13, 1918, a night watchman named L.T. Hawes noticed a fire coming through the door of a linen closet in Ward 14. Hawes ran through the dormitory, unlocking doors, and he also sounded an alarm to wake patients up. He started shouting as well, but it did little good. He and the staff carried away many of the patients, and some were even fighting the staff as they were being carried out the whole time. In all, they saved about 300 patients, but the fire quickly spread and they were unable to rescue them all. Many of the patients never even woke from their sleep. In about 30 minutes, 3 building wards and 1 dining hall were completely burned to the ground. In all, about 40 people died in the fire and only 1 patient was identified. The other 39 patients were buried 2 days later in an unmarked mass grave with no ceremony. All were males and most were under the age of 20, with some being between the ages of 10 to 15 years of age. About 3 days later, the State Board of Public Affairs revealed the horrific findings. The buildings that burned to the ground were old and they had been soaked in paraffin, which was used to keep them in better sanitary conditions. This caused the buildings to ignite like matches, which essentially meant they were fire traps. The sad part is the state realized that these buildings were dangerous. The legislature had delayed construction of fireproof buildings, which had been approved in March of 1917. Just a month before the 1918 fire, the state finally got around to getting the contracts to build new buildings started. More than $80,000 was spent on the structures, which are still standing today. The source of the fire remains unknown. On April 14, 1918, the story was told in the Oklahoman paper. It explained that Ward 14 was reserved for white boys who were idiots and defectives ranging in ages 10 to 15 years. They went on to explain that they burned as they laid in their beds, smothered by the smoke and the flames before they awoke. In January of 2015, the location of the mass grave was located by using ground-penetrating radar. In April of that same year, some 97 years later, a memorial marker was placed in the cemetery where the mass grave was located. A proper funeral was performed where they read all of the names of those who perished in this terrible disaster. As I was exiting the cemetery, I saw the back side of this marker right here, and it is Caitlin Danielle Credicott, if I'm saying that correctly, September 21st, 1992 to October 1st, 2009. There's a great photo of her there. And some orange flowers, probably for Halloween. Little fairy, and then a boo ghost right there. But it says, beloved daughter, sister, granddaughter, and friend. Truly an angel on earth that touched many. She was not here for long, but left us with many gifts. And then there's a unicorn down there on the far right. But this is what caught my eye. Well, that little cat with the pumpkin too, but Wonka's golden ticket. Greetings to you, the lucky finder of the golden ticket from Mr. Willy Wonka. Present this ticket at the factory gates at 10 o'clock in the morning of the first day of October. In your wildest dreams, you cannot imagine the marvelous surprises that await you. And then there's a Tinkerbell there. So what a eye-catching monument there. And the sad thing is, she passed away on October 1st, 2009. And that is why you're kind of seeing that Wonka's golden ticket there, the first day of October. Definitely an eye-catching one. There really are a lot of monuments in here. And I'm sure there are a lot of other stories in here as well that are interesting. I just got to find them. To me, these cemeteries are like a library, a card catalog of sorts, and you just got to dig through and find the stories. That's going to do it for today's cemetery visit. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you guys next time.